Kalimeragi. Kalisperagi. Kalimera? Kalinichta? Oh my God. Having a total brain fart. Kalimera, kalispera, kalinichta. There you go. No matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be, thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. It's a new week. It's a blank canvas. And we want to tell pictures, tell stories and paint pictures. Wow, this is about the shittiest intro you'll ever hear on Highbury Squad. Should we just rock and roll, squaddies? Basically what I'm trying to say, it's a massive week.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Squad Central. Those of you listening on replay, make sure to make your voices heard loud in those YouTube comments. And for those listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave a review and subscribe as well. You can listen to the show now. We're back up and running on Apple Podcasts. I would appreciate a review and a subscription on there. The link is in the description of this show. And if I could find myself after that fantastic introduction that I did, kids, here I am. It's solo Soph tonight. That's right, solo Soph. Oh, I didn't crop the see, haven't done any of that stuff. You can crop the layout, so there's a little bit of, well, you know what, let's just stay as we are. There's no branding. Look at me. I've gotten off to a great start. Absolutely brilliant. Layouts. Crop solo layout. Yeah, sure. Should we do that? Didn't work, did it? No. Hi, everyone. Good evening, squaddies. At ease. Welcome back to Squad Central. Happy Monday. What a Monday it is. How each and every one of you, firstly, you know the rules. Hit the like button, a la request from our chief like officer. Let's be masters of Madrid again. Lone Star there in Texas. We're going to get to all of that. G'day, Seb. How are you? Seb, feeling nervous already, says Tammy. Yep, it's nerve-wracking. It really is. We're going to get stuck into it. PW's here, Ian's here, Carol's here. The whole fam jam is here. Harvey's here with his caps. Everyone loves Harvey and his caps. Not. I'm here. And you know, I'm going to try and find a happy balance timing wise for the show, because I know that, you know, I tend to go when the guests go. And today I chose to go after the football. And then I was like, does anyone really care about Bournemouth versus Fulham? And I just know there's a lot of people out there who just love watching football no matter what it is. This season might be a little bit different. I didn't care, but I took you little sweethearts into consideration, which is why we're going a little bit later today. But maybe for next season, we'll have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule and some pre-recorded stuff in between. And trust me, I'll do better. I'll try to be better at scheduling so you guys know exactly when the show is coming up. But, you know, when you got the David Ornstein and Rebecca Lowe and Ben Jacobs and Graham Hunter, and basically all the fabulous guests that we've had on recently, you got to go when they go. You got to be ready. It's like Arsenal in Madrid. We've just got to be ready. No matter who gets selected to play in that starting 11, those players have to be ready. Let's see, what else have we got? Yes, Carol, thank you for reminding me. All right, so here's what happened today. This is how my Monday started. There I was, happily preparing for today's show. And I wanted to kind of do one on my own today because I have a lot to say and a lot to share with you guys. And I want us to kind of, you know, have a heart-to-heart, if you like, a European pedigree heart-to-heart. And there I was, just enjoying my coffee and my Monday morning. And there was an earthquake, 100% correct, Carol, in San Diego. And initially, it was reported that it was a 6.1, but then it was 6.2. Then it was downgraded to a 5.2. And Tony and I felt it. Woo! Did the house roll? Oh, yeah. What are you going to take first? Just our house, please. No cracks. We're okay. We didn't lose anything of value. And that's most important thing is that it seems like nobody's been hurt. And I'll tell you something, you just never get used to an earthquake. It is, I don't know if you've experienced one, but it is the most surreal, weird thing. And then after we were both dizzy for a little bit, it's kind of like seasickness, when if a boat's going bosh, bosh, bosh over waves and stuff like that. But imagine kind of being still, but everything around you is rolling. I mean, it was scary. It was a big one. I haven't felt a big one like this in a very long time. So fingers crossed that everyone's okay. No one's had too much damage. But a 5.2 in San Diego. And let me give you an idea. How many miles are we from San Diego, Tony? We're 90. I mean, she's the best. We're 90 miles away from San Diego, and we felt it. So hit that like button. Thank you very much, Wesbird. Good to have you here. Mark, are you back from Poland? Did I see you on Facebook traipsing around Europe, giving it the large, eh? The ground moved for you, and I expect Arsenal to move for me. And any earthquake over 5 is dangerous. I agree. Totally. Hello, Patrick. Good evening to you. Good to see you in the live chat. Listen, it's happened. We had a water leak. We had to buy a new washer and dryer. 6 minutes in, we are going to talk about Arsenal. And now there was an earthquake. I'm telling you, Cross Jonky, send some dollars over here. We could absolutely use them. Right, let's get stuck into the football, shall we, kids? Yes, I've had 6 lovely days in Poland. Did you eat lots of pierogies? I do love a pierogi. We have a really good friend of ours who's Polish, and around Thanksgiving, when you kind of over turkey and everything, she makes the best pierogies and Polish food and comes to the house, literally Tupperware boxes packed to the rim with amazing Polish food. And let me tell you, I weigh as much as the boxes of Tupperware after that. Okay, let's start talking, shall we? So I wanted to have a little chat, a little heart to heart. There's a lot I've been feeling leading up to this Real Madrid game. And for me right now, nothing else matters. As an Arsenal fan, I don't care if Andrea Berta has changed the transfer policy. I don't care if, of course, I care if season ticket prices have gone up. I care if, I don't care if there's a new merch launch. I don't care if we're connected to Gyökeres or Sesko or Zubimendi. I don't care if, Mikel Arteta got a haircut. I don't care about anything other than getting through this tie. It is the single most important night for Arsenal, probably since the last 2006. And last week we talked about, the Gunners being Galacticos. We utilized the 2006 vibes. Senderos and Flamini having to deputize for 2 absolute legends in Sol Campbell and Ashley Cole, about not really having a Thierry Henry up front, but that, where there's a will, there's a way. And it was an absolutely magical night at the Emirates. And now, we're heading to Madrid, and that's a whole other ball game. And it's going to be intense. I've heard all of the shenanigans. I don't care if they're closing the roof. I don't care if they're wearing pajamas in their warm-ups. I don't care what they're doing. We just have to focus on us. We just have to care about what we're doing, and nothing else matters. And the theme of the show today is, be the masters in Madrid. And I was inspired by Rory McIlroy. And stick with me, here's where I'm going with this. I don't know if a lot of you are golfers, or you don't have to watch, or play sports all the time to enjoy an absolutely magical sports moment. And I love golf. And he does look young in that pic, doesn't he? I have another one of him somewhere. What if Arteta dyed his hair blonde? I wouldn't care. Don't worry, says Harvey. New golf range of merch. Is it out? Is it really? Have I called this one before it's even happened? Just call me Soph Stradamus. Soph and the Gadares. I'm Greek. What can I say? I've got, evil eyes hanging all over this place. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. So I was watching the Masters and I felt like I was watching Arsenal when I was watching Rory. It was this roller coaster of a ride, and you just didn't know how any of it was going to end. And I have to say, there have been times, and it was this quote that kind of got me with Rory. I started to wonder if it would ever be my time. And Arsenal fans have definitely been wondering for a long, long time if it would ever be their time. Now, in between not winning the Premier League and losing any type of prowess, I mean, it's 30 plus years now in Europe. We don't have pedigree in Europe. We'll get to that. We won some FA Cups and that kept us, happy. But as we all know, Arsenal were judged by winning the big trophies. And when I heard this quote from Rory too, I started to wonder if it would ever be my time. And you think about the insurmountable pressure that he was under to win this Masters. It was incredible, really. And when he missed that putt on the 18th, so for those who didn't watch, he had a putt to make it on the 18th to win the tournament, to avoid a playoff. And he missed it. And when he missed it, I'm pretty sure everyone was thinking, uh-oh, here we go again. Rory's choked. Rory's bottled it. 11 years in the making to solidify this Grand Slam, to make everyone who has criticized him, thrown darts at him, whether it's opposing golf fans, whether it's media and pundits, who say he should have won more. He won so many majors. It had been so long since he'd won a major. And he was just full of the talent, but mentally he was shot. And you wondered if he would kind of break the duck. And even Bryson DeChambeau in the US Open, for example, when they played each other, mentally Rory collapsed. And I always use this analogy with you guys when I talk about, Kev and I used to talk a lot about beating teams in the tunnel, those old Arsenal teams, the intimidation. And I think in the 22, 23, 24, 23, 24 season, we developed a lot of that. We lost that this season, injuries, not really being able to play your best 11 all at the same time. And Tiger Woods used to beat his competitors before they even hit the first tee. Mentally, it was just beastly. Greats do that to you. And when Rory kind of was off to play the playoffs, I was thinking, wow, this is why I think it's so important for Arsenal to close the deal in Madrid. Rory changed the narrative around him. He was called a choker, a bottler, but he had a moment and he's been done. And you could see the way he reacted on the 18th hole. He let it all out. It was really quite unbelievable. And as a sports fan, for me, this is one of the single most enjoyable moments that I have seen. And I just kept going back to Arsenal. No more bottler headlines. Close the deal. Be Rory. Be the Masters in Madrid. Show everybody that you can do this. Don't give anyone the opportunity to come at us and label us bottlers again. And I really, truly believe that this game, other than the 2006 final against Barcelona, I think this is the most important game in Mikel Arteta's career, for Arsenal Football Club, because 2006 is not their narrative. 2006 is a moment in time they can utilize to galvanize them, to give them hope, and to touch into a little bit of that culture that there was a team that did it, underdogs too. When you look at that Real Madrid team, we talked about it over the last couple of weeks, the players. We were still the underdog, even though we had Thierry Henry and although we had all of these incredible players. But when you take Sol Campbell and Ashley Cole out of that team, no one really gave us a chance. And so this game, for me, is the most important game that Arsenal have played in 20 years. Oh, no, it's 19 years. See, math's not very good. And I want to know if you agree or disagree with me on that. I know we've had big games against Liverpool, Manchester City in the Premier League to win the Premier League. They're all really big, but the Premier League is gone, right? And we've whiffed on winning the Premier League in the last 2 seasons. And I know I can hear all of the narrative about injuries and VAR and all that type of stuff. This is the moment, right, for us to put all of that aside. But you also can't get through a tie with Real Madrid and lose in the semi-final. I don't know what you guys think about this, but for me, I'm in Vegas and I've got all my chips on the table and I'm putting them all in. The time is now. It can't continue being, but only, what if Arsenal were good, but Arsenal only have themselves to blame. He played great, but the team, you can't have any other narrative other than winning in order to change the perception, not only of the media and the pundits, because let's be honest. I'm not prepared for what could potentially happen if we don't get through this tie in the media. Are you? I'm just going to shut off. I'll shut down everything. I'll go to Pluto for a week. I don't want to hear it. And that's not me tempting fate in any way. We're talking about honesty. That's why I said, let's have a heart to heart. There's absolutely, it would be a catastrophe if Arsenal did not get through this tie. It would be a catastrophe for the club. It would be a catastrophe for Mikel Arteta. It would leave an indelible negative mark on these players. And it would be a disaster for the fans. And it would just overall be one of the most sickening moments, I think. Losing a final is the worst, but this will be up there. This will be up there. And so for me, watching Rory and seeing him rise above the pressure, even when, he missed a penalty on the 18th, didn't make that putt, picked himself back up and went for it. Now, the difference is that game, when you're in the playoff for golf, starts off even, right? Everyone is even. We have a 3-goal lead against Real Madrid, the kings of Europe, the best team that Europe has ever seen, the most winningest team in the history of this competition. And now is the time to beat this team. They seem to have some issues on the pitch, off the pitch. I don't know if that narrative is just nonsense because they're very good at playing the dark arts as well in a build-up and during a game. But there's never been a better time to beat Real Madrid. And the time has to be now for Arsenal. Let me get some of your comments in. Lionheart says he will go into hiding. Cross Jonky says, win, lose or draw, we are the Arsenal. Let's have our moment. We're going to Munich. Win, lose or draw. No, I don't want to hear the lose part. I guess if we do lose 2-1, we still go through. If we lose 2-0, we'll still go through. I see what you're doing there. You know what I mean. Lionheart says facts. Andy says, before the first leg, I was resigned to probably going out. If we go out now, I'll be absolutely heartbroken. Totally agreed. Tammy, are you worrying about this game? Harvey says, relax, Sophia, and we'll screw the pundits and other fan bases. We are monsters, don't worry. Yeah, but history tells us we're not. And that's why. Hi, you good coach. Good to see you back in live chat. Hope you have been well. Albert JTV in the house. Yesterday at Augusta was phenomenal to watch. Rory McIlroy puts us through the ringer. His emotion on the winning putt was spine-tingling. I agree. Absolutely, I agree. And I couldn't help but think, wow, this is the guy. It's like watching the Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? Like, I love this woman. Let's go. Me? You love me? I like that. Asfar, good evening to you as well. Let's see. Ian said, yeah, he was being criticized for resting players against Brentford. I tell you something, he should have rested Thomas Partey. I don't care if we played with 10 men at the start with no right back. After Thomas Partey, I'm not going to criticize Mikel Arteta for resting players. That was the right thing to do. But resting the right players is also important. And I felt like after Thomas Partey's performance against Real Madrid, which was one for the ages, you protect him at all cost, especially when history's told us we lose him at the time when we need him the most. And that's happened. Yeah, touch wood. We've been really, really lucky. And I wouldn't have played Thomas Partey at the weekend. In hindsight 2020, I'm hoping that he'll be okay. It feels like he will be okay. But I would have rested him. I liked all the other players that he left out and then gave certain players a run out when they needed to. That was a horrible game to watch, by the way. Really just awful. Ugh. Arsenal are, you know that movie Split with, oh, God. Perimenopausal mind fog. What is that actor's name? That British James. He's in the X-Men as well. Anyway, him, the movie Split. That's Arsenal this season. We've had so many personalities. We don't really quite know who we are and how to adapt to having to be someone else when that first 11 isn't fit. We have totally different characteristics in the Champions League versus the Premier League. I don't think there's any denying that. And for me, I feel like we've been a Gemini this season. Split personality. Start reading your charts as well, why don't I? McAvoy, James McAvoy. Oh, squaddies, I love you. Thank you so much for saving me there. Yeah, I feel like we've been a totally different team. And this is why I have hope in the Champions League, that because we've been so different, right? Because we've had this different persona and different personality, it suits us this season. And it suited us very well. We've been a bit, drab and boring at times. And, sometimes the Champions League is slow and it has an international football vibe about it. Then it comes to life, of course. But for the most part, it has really suited us. And I think that we've played some of our smartest, most intelligent, tactically astute football in the Champions League this season, which is why I think we have every opportunity to go on and win it. The time is now. Big John Cena. Yes. Albert also says the pressure on Rory with the last few holes was unimaginable. Arsenal need to channel their inner Rory. Let's not forget Rory had gone 11 years with no major. Totally agree. The whole time I was watching him, I was thinking, wow, the headlines that were waiting to be written about him again. I actually, Tony and I were saying, we feel sorry for him. You can have all the millions in the world, all the mansions and the private jets. But when you're a competitor and you are an athlete at the highest top level, you do not want to be embarrassed or humiliated. There's nothing worse. It would have been, I'm not sure if Rory would have come back to play golf for the rest of the season had he lost that tournament in the playoff to Justin Rose. And those kinds of moments leave a lot of damage. And as I said in the quote, he was starting to wonder if it would ever happen. And I think this Arsenal believe it can happen. I think Mikel Arteta has a very strong mentality where he builds players up and lifts them to a point where they believe that they can do anything. And I believe these players would follow him to the end of the earth. I questioned a lot, what was missing this season, because it felt like the joy had been taken out of their football. It felt like the passion had gone. It felt like there was very little of the personality that we've seen of the last 2 years. But in certain games, it's still there. And it needs to be there now in the Champions League where it matters the most. We've got to be careful in the Premier League as well, because dare I say there's a chance that Manchester City could go on a run and finish second if we keep drawing. 12 draws this season. Look, I know the Invincibles had 12 draws, but they went invincible. This statistics are not good. And you know what? If you look at the stats, maybe Albert will help me here. God, he's thinking ahead. 2 Premier League wins in 7 games, 12 Premier League draws. 8 of those draws are from winning positions. That's what I wanted to say. So it's all well and good having a pop at people that come at us about, you can't make excuses, injuries, etc. The stats don't lie. 8 draws from winning positions. And some of those teams are like Fulham, Everton, Brentford. Okay, Liverpool, you could say you give them a pass on that one. Brighton. I mean, this is what we need to be careful of. We're in a winning position now. It's half time. We've enjoyed the moment. And Albert told me immediately that night, he goes, it's half time, can't get too carried away. And I said, no, I'm going to get carried away for a couple of days, and then I'm going to put it in my back pocket, and then I'm going to focus on the return leg in Madrid. And it's time for the Arsenal to do it. And so let's have a look at some key things here that I wanted to share with you. Okay, number 1 is pedigree, right? Pedigree for us in Europe is non-existent. Let's be honest, okay? This is the baton the opposing fans are able to bash us across the head with. I say it to the point where I'm sure you guys are sick of hearing it. I say it on every show that I go on. We cannot look through our rose-colored glasses when we talk about the Arsenal in Europe. Just can't. It's not been great. The last time we won a European trophy was when Kev was playing. We know the history of that. I tell you, the one thing that is on our side if we get through this tie is our history against PSG. So if you pickpocket some pedigree in history, if PSG are the team that we're going to meet in the semi-final, the pedigree is there against that team. They've never beaten us in Europe. That plays a part. It could work on the flip side of the coin. As much as I say one, it can be relevant to the other. But overall, the pedigree in Europe is poor. So facing PSG is a good thing for us. Gives us a little bit of a kick, a little bit of bravado. Again, gives Mikel Arteta something to point to, like I'm sure he's pointing today and tomorrow. We've done this in 2006. We can do it again. Same thing with PSG. Already beaten them this season too. So these are really good omens for the Arsenal. But overall, pedigree-wise, this is the time to go to Munich and to win that Champions League competition, to build the statue for Mikel if he does it, and this entire team. They would have done something no other player and manager has ever done before. Imagine the scenes. As my good friend Potsy said, if we were going to win the Premier League last season, he said the streets aren't ready. Well, I tell you something, if Arsenal win the Champions League, the streets will not be ready. So pedigree matters, and it's time to turn the corner on pedigree. The other thing, one of my favorite films, getting a lot of love in the chat box, Albert. One of my favorite speeches in a film comes from, not one of my favorite actors, but Alec Baldwin in a film called Glengarry Glen Ross. You know, these guys are out there trying to hustle, make a sale. And it's the always be closing speech. You know, you can go into a pitch meeting, you could give it large, you could talk a good game, get people's attention, have them engaged. But if you don't close that deal and make the sale at the end of the day, you walk away with empty pockets. And Arsenal have to always be closing. We didn't do it in the improbable season. We'll give them a pass on that one. 22, 23. No one was expecting us to challenge then. In 23, 24 was a lot different. That should have been our Premier League. We had it. We were really struggling with being the hunted. We prefer to be the hunter. So we've got to be really careful in this match against Real Madrid. They're coming hunting. They love to hunt. We're the prey. And we need to be really careful. Really careful. So always be closing is a motto. And if I was Mikel Arteta, I would play that scene to the players. Maybe I'll just send it to them. And it rolls on to this in terms of being the hunted, being the prey. We cannot concede an early goal. Now, some people say, well, that's a given, isn't it? No, it's the given. We cannot concede an early goal. If we concede an early goal, you'll see it. The stress will kick in. The frustration will kick in. The Rory on the 18th hole having to make that putt and freezing in time and in that moment will kick in. We have to be bold, but we have to be smart. We've got to be brave, but we've also got to ensure that we don't fall apart. And I don't think we should be afraid, of attacking. Got to be careful, of course. But if we get a goal early, it's going to be tough for them. If they get a goal early, they will believe they can do this. We've seen it happen to PSG. We've seen it happen to Barcelona, and it could easily happen to us. That place is going to be a cauldron on Wednesday night. Oof. Wear a T-shirt if you're going. Wear a vest. But we cannot concede early. I think that will be disastrous mentally. And I think we need to be really careful about that. Yeah, full of white jerseys is going to be unbelievable. We'll pick them off, says Ian. They have to take risks, Ian. There's no doubt about that. Real Madrid have to take risks. And we can punish them. And if we do punish them, all right, I got it right here. It's time. It is time for Odegaard to shine. I tell you, Declan Rice stepped up in the last game. I think Timber's been one of our best players all season. Miles Lewis-Skelly has been nothing short of sensational. I'm not going to nitpick here, but if there was one player that didn't have his best, again, it was the captain. He does things in the shadows. You guys know how I feel about players who work in the shadows. But on Wednesday, in order for us to be calm, to try and control the tempo of the game, there's no Jorginho. Jorginho can't come on and help. He cannot. Fingers crossed Thomas Partey is going to be fine to go. Martin Odegaard has to have his greatest game ever for the Gunners. And I'm expecting him to show up in a place where he used to play for a team that sold him for tuppence, and he needs to have his moment. And I believe that he will. I think Martin Odegaard is going to have one of those Jack Wilshere in Europe type performances. He can't go hiding. He has to play and be unafraid. He's got to take risks. He's got to be the Martin Odegaard of the last 2 seasons, not of what we've seen this season. As Amina says, time to shine. Absolutely. William's laughing because he said, I wouldn't rely on Odegaard. I said I'm not relying on him. I said he has to have even an 80% game. I don't know if he's had an 80% game this season. Tunji says, are we really scared of a back line of 32-year-old Rudiger and Alaba? We'll score, which means they'll have to score 4 or 5. Listen, I'm being cautious. I didn't say I don't believe. I'm ready to rock and roll and celebrate. But at the same time, I think that, this is still Barcelona. Pedigree matters. Pedigree in Europe matters. So I think David Raya has been brilliant this season. And I think David Raya is going to be super important, especially in the early stages of the game. He has really been superb, playing the ball out the back, controlling the ball in the back, coming for crosses. He had his seminal moment. Newman, yes, they've let 6 in 2 home games. La Liga is different. It's like us, Premier League and Champions League this season. Do not be fooled. We've seen this movie before. Real Madrid in the Champions League are a lot different than Real Madrid in La Liga. And they haven't been super great in the Champions League this season, but they still have Mbappe. They still have Luka Modric. They still have Rodrigo. They still have all of these players that can change a game on a whim. Score a goal out of nothing. You go make a cup of tea, come back and you'd be like, shit, what happened? Oh, Mbappe scored a banger. That's what can happen. Yeah, true. Facts. Back to David Raya. I think that if we get peppered, right? We're going to be under attack. There's no doubt about it. David Raya is, for me, one of the most important players on Wednesday night. He needs to be the David Raya we've seen this season, and he deserves flowers. He has been nothing short of incredible. I think 4 players, Big Gabby, Thomas Partey, Jurrien Timber, and David Raya have been nothing short of sensational. And since Christmas, I would also say Declan Rice is up there. And he's going to have these Galacticos coming at him left, right, and center. They will not relent. They will not give up. And hopefully that will give David Raya the opportunity to spread the ball like he did against Brentford for that breakaway goal at the weekend, which was absolutely sublime and wouldn't have happened without David Raya being so quick thinking. So for me, he is one of the most important players that needs to have a top game on Wednesday night. Lone Star says we have a fantastic defensive record. Yes, we do. Biggest football stage, says Kevin. Our biggest player, Master Saka, to score. I'll get to him. The key is not to concede. That's absolutely correct. The key Wednesdays for Arsenal to score 1 goal early. I agree. So fear you will make the squaddies have nightmares. No. When you're going into battle and you're going into a war, the general doesn't say, just something. The general makes you aware of all the potential pitfalls. Doesn't say you're going to go in there, you're going to strike. It'll be real easy, in and out job. You'll be home before tea time. I'll have the kettle on. A general makes you aware of all of the potential problems. That's how you prepare for war. That's how you prepare for battle. And you know what? That's why Mikel Arteta's manager, because the way he dots the I's and crosses the T's, he takes care of the minutiae, all the fine details to prepare these guys to go into battle and become the masters of Madrid 2.0. That's what I'm expecting. All right. So we're just talking it through. I'm having a heart to heart because for me, we've got to get through this tie. I actually think we've got to win it. I think even if we go out in the semi-final, whatever, I'm just being honest. This is the moment. This is the time. This team has to deliver something. Mikel Arteta's been given all the tools, all the resources. And I know, my good friend Tom Canton talks about how it's unbelievable what he's done, because we're second in the league. We went to the semi-final of a League Cup and now we're in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. That's nice. That's all great. Very good. Clap, round of applause, pat on the back. But now, okay, most of the team, other than Kai Havertz and Benjamin White and Gabriel, are fit, right? So we've lost different players at different times this season, and we've lost them in key moments. But we've all said the name of the game is Saka. You get Saka back, and because you've got Saliba, because you've got Timber, because you've got Miles Lewis-Skelly, because you've got David Raya, they can help Kivior. You still got the spine of that defense, and we've proven we beat Real Madrid 3-0 without Big Gabby. That is massive. Huge. Absolutely huge. But Saka is the one that's the X factor. We've got such a good defense, and we've been really poor at converting chances this season at times. And Saka is the game changer. He's our game changer. And as much as I know Odegaard has to lead this midfield, he's got to be taking more chances. He must shine. He's absolutely got to be that guy. Bukayo proved in that first half he was a lone man wolf. Crosses coming in. I mean, he was unbelievable. I thought, oh no, here we go. Seeing him and Martinelli like this again when he came back after his injury, beautiful thing. This guy is the guy. And this guy can change everything for us on Wednesday night. Fearless footballer. The most important player at Arsenal. I think we've realised that this season. So as much as I want to shut Gary Neville up, right? And I really do. I want to change the narrative. I want to be able to shut this guy up. And you know what? We really don't need him on television. Hey, Lisa, how you doing? Hope you're well in America. We've got really good pundits. Robbie Mustoe and Robbie Earle are superior pundits to Gary Neville. And there's nothing more I want than to shut him up, than to shut Simon Jordan up, and who I think likes to bully Martin Keown, to be honest with you. And there's nothing more I'd love than to shut Jason up and Jamie up. I want to shut them all up one by one because it will be unbearable. It will be absolutely unbearable. And you will want to come to Pluto with me on my spaceship. You absolutely will. I mean, does Gary Neville have a point saying we've regressed this season? In the Premier League, we have. I mean, of all the things he said about Arsenal, this wasn't the one that pissed me off the most. We have regressed in the Premier League. We've had injuries. I thought Robbie Mustoe's response was brilliant. And Robbie Mustoe and Robbie Earle are superb on NBC with Rebecca Lowe. They really are. They're two of the best out there. And they get time to articulate, you know, their thoughts. They don't clickbait. They don't say things to rile people up. They don't have an agenda with Arsenal. They just say it like they see it. Gary Neville has an agenda against Arsenal. He has one against Liverpool as well. And when I'm in England and actually I listen to Sky Sports and he and Jamie are doing a Liverpool-Man United game, how does anyone listen to that? They're like two fanboys. They're not commentators. They're not painting the picture of the game. I think he's regressed as a commentator. There. Did Tom write that? I haven't read it yet, but I saw Tom wrote a long tweet about it. If anything, Gary Neville has regressed as a commentator. So there you have it. The two Robbies are a good listen on their PL Roundup show. They are. Facts. Lisa says, go on. Robbie schooled poor Gary. Yep, he certainly did. Man in the mirror. What I fear is Madrid, the institution. That's exactly what I'm trying to get across. The institution. Ian likes the two Robbies. Neville numpties are no ones. Well, actually, that's not true. They are. For some reason, this guy has been given the voice, like he's the voice of football in England. And I don't want him to think he can come here and become the voice of football in the United States when we've got excellent. Danny Higginbotham is better than him. Who's on the show. Tim Howard, The two Robbies and Rebecca are an institution here. And I would argue that Jamie Carragher is elevated when he's on the CBS show with Kate and Thierry and Micah. They've got a really good chemistry there. I know a lot of international fans watch that now. Jamie's a lot better when he's not with Paul Scholes on the overlap. Wake me up. Wake me up. My God. It's like watching paint dry listening to that guy, and talk about an agenda against everyone. He's really bad. Oh, he's made that show a little bit unwatchable. There, I said it out loud. Craziness. Let's see. What we got? Talking trash brings in viewers and money. Yeah. I mean, you know, some people like to go the trash route. Some people like to go the what do you call it? The sensationalistic route, you know? And, you know, it's in our YouTube world as well. CBS Golazzo is amazing. Yeah. Nice seeing our own Nicole on CBS. US in the US, us in the US are blessed with a good team of pundits and the best female presenter out there. Yes. Imran says Arsenal must deliver against Cat A opposition away from home in Europe in a knockout tie. Totally agree. DJ Sassin says that Carragher is not much better than Neville these days. That Neville has become clickbait. Now, I haven't mentioned anything about red card, Brantail, so don't make me go there. But you're correct. We don't watch that rubbish anyway, Gary Neville. And you know what? Gary Neville is, he's not here, Newman. Don't ask for help when he's not here. You know what else? Gary Neville. He has been ripping Manchester United to pieces, right? And he's had his say on, you know, Ten Hag and on Ten Hag and Ruben Amorim, and used to rip the owners to shreds. Absolutely used to. They used to play bad, and he would say, oh, it's the owners. Dude, the owners don't suit up to go play football. This is why sometimes with the Cronkies don't pick the team. They don't pick the tactics. They don't pick which players we buy in the transfer market. They give you the money. You go do it. You can't blame them if we end up having crap players or we've invested badly. And Gary Neville just kept blaming the Glazers, and they deserve all the blame. My God, thank God we're not Manchester United. But now he has a vested interest in the regeneration project. You don't hear him bitching as much about the owners, do you? And this new guy who's come in. Another brain fart moment. Sir Jim Radcliffe, sorry. You don't hear him bitching about that, do you? He is a fake socialist, champagne, something. If he really for the people, if he was really for the people, he'd be fighting for different things and creating a different narrative. And for me, you could see right through it. And I've been told he's a really nice guy and he's really smart and whatever. Yeah, but he's too smart for his own good sometimes. And he's not the voice of football. And I think people should stop kind of giving him all of this credence. It's kind of annoying. Stop trying to get in my good books, Newman. Thank you, Albert. My little lady tie. It's a shorty, you see. It's a little shorty right there. What else do I have to say? I had some other notes and then I went off on one with Gary Neville. All the time. Like Gary Neville headlines. You know, there are a lot of smart people out there talking football. And it's not he who shouts the loudest or has the platform. There are a lot of people in the YouTube world who I love and adore and could listen to all day long and should be on certain programming out there. And there are some that are getting on programming out there, and I won't mention the programming, who are just in it for camera time. I really believe, I've been around the game a long time, kids. behind the camera and in front of the camera. I've looked after some of the world's biggest talent, worked on some of the biggest films. I've seen it all, worked on the shittiest films and independent movies that no one would even come watch. I've worked with, film festivals and been in the broadcasting game a long time. You can tell who wants the fame versus being the content creator and telling the stories. And that's just, I call it as I see it. I do. I think it's getting worse. But I think there's going to come a time where people really want to digest great conversations again, one-on-one conversations, and not, sensationalistic, always, 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 over and over and over and over. Can be exhausting, but there are a lot of young people that like that. A younger audience, I think, is more into the soundbite because life's a soundbite now. Life used to be a glass of wine. Now it's a shot of vodka. Instant gratification. You just read the headline and you think you know what's going on in the article. And it's just not the way it should be. Real journalism is dying, And I'm sorry, but not every ex-footballer makes for a great pundit or a great TV host or a great person on radio. They don't. There's a lot of really smart journalists out there, writers, been around the block, beat writers who know their stuff, who'd be a lot better than some of these ex-players that seem to be appearing everywhere, left, right, and center, because they played the game. Well, you know what? You didn't go to university or journalism school or do a course or pass an exam to become a broadcaster, did you? Works both ways. So, anyway, I mean, sports mirrors society, and you just wait, kids, until this AI thing kicks off. I probably won't be presenting this show in the future. There'll be an AI version of me who'll probably be smarter, prettier, and everyone will enjoy it. But we're broadcasters, content creators, and when I mean content creators, I mean across the board, not just YouTube. I'm talking like filmmakers. This is why, even though I didn't like the film Anora, I'm happy that a film like Anora gets recognized in a world where we're being shoved Marvel comic books down our throat. I'm happy that films like A Complete Unknown get made. I'm happy that a film like The Substance gets made, because the world caters to 20-year-olds and the Generation X are the forgotten generation. And there's nothing wrong with 20-year-olds. They're super smart. I'm learning everything I know from 20-year-olds about technology and how to do certain things and stuff like that. But we've kind of blanketed our content versus still respecting demographics. That is just widening. And I think that it's important that we still have an essence of the nostalgia, the history, all of the things that have come before us. Anyway, I've gone off on one. Wasn't expecting that, but there you have it. Mission Impossible is a good movie. It's not a Marvel movie. I said Marvel, and I really do enjoy. I did not enjoy Maverick. I didn't think that was a good movie at all, especially when they got lost in the snow. I'm like, are you kidding me? Jesus. But I really am excited for the Final Reckoning Mission Impossible film. And I worked with Tom Cruise on a film a few years ago. You guys may have seen it, which is one of my favorite Tom Cruise films, Minority Report. I loved that movie, and working on that with really smart filmmakers, futurists, talking about, the future of technology. And I have this sketchbook that they made of what LA is going to look in 2055. Really unbelievable stuff. That type of stuff I love. I think that's brilliant. How are you enhancing the world with AI for medicine? Good things, not for people to have 5 minutes of fame on TikTok. That's what I'm talking about. Let's see. Love Minority Report. Yes, very good movie. It's a great movie. I have one of the spiders here. You know, the scene, the spiders where he's in the bath and stuff. I got a picture with Tom. Maybe I'll show it to you guys one day. Tom Cruise is even shorter than Soph. he's not tall. Yeah, fun stuff. Top Gun Maverick, where Star Wars meets the Dam Busters. I will watch Dead Reckoning. That's going to be good. Yeah. Edge of Tomorrow was decent. Not too bad. Albert, love Minority Report. Do love Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible films, though. So do I. There's some big budget movies like the one after Mission Impossible 3 with Philip Seymour Hoffman. I don't remember the name of that one. That wasn't so great. But then after that, like when they went to Rome and the last 3 have been unbelievable. And the fact that he does his own stunts, let me tell you, Tom Cruise is flying the flag for Generation X. Now, put his other stuff aside, Scientology, whether you like that or not, I'm looking at him as a popcorn actor. Tom Cruise is the greatest popcorn actor of our time. The dude is doing stunts, jumping out of planes, doing ridiculous, crazy things where a lot of these young'uns are getting like, you know, their stunt double and body double and stuff like that. Thank God for Tom Cruise in these movies. I may not have liked Maverick, but I loved how Maverick brought everyone back to the theater post-COVID. Tom Cruise can do that. And the fact that he's still the biggest superstar in the world and he's a Generation Xer, I love that. Absolutely love that. Right. I have a Tom Cruise Nicole Kidman story, actually, which I'll tell you next time. I've looked after him twice. And I have to say the Nicole Kidman part was my, favorite. I mean, I like looking after him on Minority Report, but this one moment was unbelievable. She's so beautiful. My gosh. I was like, whoa. Only Catherine Zeta-Jones I've been kind of floored with. The Mask of Zorro, her beauty. I was like, holy cow, how can anyone be that beautiful in real life? And Nicole Kidman then too. I was like, holy cow, you are like stunning. Unbelievable. I'm going to do a show where there's no football talk. And we're just going to talk about pop culture. Do you remember Freestyle Friday? We used to do that a lot. I'll have a couple people on here. We'll have a little chat, have a little drink, talk about life, movies, actors, songs, experiences, concerts, craziest stories, your best, worst moments. I like to do that. Instead of Premier League shows, I'm going to do that with my guests. How does that sound to everyone? Good? Okay. I'm going to leave you on this note. I think Kivior's really important for the game on Wednesday, and I'm really rooting for him, and I'm rooting for Mikel Merino, and I think Kivior deserves some major flowers after his performance, and I think he stepped in and done well. The Arsenal player under the most pressure, no doubt about that. We got to rewrite the headlines, and I think we're ready to do that. And I'm excited for the game on Wednesday, and I am going to be back after the final whistle. We're going to be here, all right? And we're going to do it all. And we're going to talk, and we're going to hopefully be waxing lyrical about our Gunners. Until the next time, listen, you take care. I went off on one there at the end, but sometimes it's fun to go off script. And not that we have a script for the show. Don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them. At ease, squaddies, at ease. Look after yourselves. Don't get injured before Wednesday. And I'll see you after the game.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Oh, what a show today. It went sideways. Brilliant stuff. This is our time, says Lisa. Yes, it is. Thanks, everyone. See you on Wednesday. Love you lots. Like vodka shots.